Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Cartridge Fun. If this is your first time checking out the channel, my name is Nate, and if you like retro games, video game collecting in general, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you've been hanging out with me for a while, thank you. Thank you so much for leaving those comments, those likes. That is my favorite part about this whole thing, is the community, where we can sit down and talk about video games. In this video, we are going to be doing a game room tour. I'm really excited to share everything with you guys. There's going to be links down in the description below, so make sure you check out all of those links. And if you have any questions, if I missed something, please leave a comment down below. With that being said, welcome to my game room. So on the shelf, this is kind of where I like to keep my box systems. I have the Nintendo Switch, as well as the NES Classic Edition, and then the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. I've actually been playing that quite a bit. And then moving down to the second shelf, I have a boxed Nintendo 64. Now the box is pretty beat up, but I just really love having it on the shelf. It just looks really cool. And then one of my favorite things in my collection is this NES Sports Set box. This came with the satellite as well as the controllers. Just something I'm really proud of to have in my collection. And then the bottom shelf, this is where I keep all of my books and magazines. I have a few Nintendo Powers, not a ton. I have, I think it's 60 through 77. I just really enjoy flipping through those, reading them when I have some time. I think a collecting goal of mine would be to have 1 through 100, but it is pretty expensive and tough to find. But it is just a cool little space where I keep just some of the box stuff, Monopoly, as well as some puzzles. I picked up this lunchbox from a friend that was moving. So just kind of a cool area right when you walk into the game room. So this needs no introduction. I actually did a full video on this, and of course the link is going to be down in the description below. But this is one of my favorite items in my collection. I feel like every collector gets to a point where they want to play those classic arcade games, but they really don't have space for each individual cabinet, and that was the issue that I had. So that's why I decided to make my very own arcade cabinet. Now this is powered by a Raspberry Pi 3. It has between 70 and 80 games, and it's just something that I absolutely love. I play this thing a ton. My kids come down and play it a ton as well. One of my favorite things about this is I can play those classic arcade games, and I also enjoy some of those strange games like the cave games that you guys gave me some suggestions on YouTube as well as Twitter. Some of my favorite games are The Simpsons. I love Galaga, of course. Frogger is pretty fun as well. I also enjoy Last Blade, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Just a ton of games, and this gets plenty of playtime. So this corner is definitely dedicated to my kids. I wanted to spruce it up a little bit with some arcade marquees that I came across at some flea markets and some garage sales. They just make the walls look pretty awesome. And then if you follow all of my videos, you probably saw this one on the 3 things that I am most proud of in my game room. This is one of them. These are all the characters from the McDonald's Happy Meal set. I think it was about last year these came out. Just something that was really fun and memorable for me because my wife and kids, we kind of ran all over town looking for the full set. Just had a lot of fun doing it. So like I said, everything's a little bit lower and a little bit more accessible. So I have a tube TV. Of course, that's going to be playing games like Duck Hunt as well as Trick Shot. And those fun light gun games. My kids absolutely love those games. And then I decided to put a top loader here. I feel like it's a little bit easier for the kids to use. And again, I got an Atari plug and play. Just everything is very simple for them. And then of course I wanted to put a little Game Genie in there just in case they wanted to cheat a little bit. This is definitely a fun area for them, and I guess I can say that I enjoyed it as well myself. So this is where all of the gaming happens. I got a nice big surface where I can lay out all of my systems in a row, just make it really clean. And again, everything's all about accessibility. I want to be able to play a game right away, not have to fumble around through cords or any controllers. So moving from left to right, I have the Nintendo 64 as well as the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. I also have the Super Nintendo playing one of my favorite games, Super Mario World. I have a satellite there as well as the NES toaster. That's where it all started with me. I got my first Nintendo Christmas of 1989, so a little bit later in the game, but that just really set the tone for me. I actually kept my NES all the way up through 1997 when I got my Nintendo 64. I wouldn't consider the 64 that nostalgic for me, but absolutely love the NES. That's something I keep on going back to time and time again. And then I also have the NES Classic Edition. And then I recently picked this up. This is the NES Advantage. I had it by itself for the longest time, but just recently did some game hunting with some friends and found one complete in box. This has the manual and everything. It looks so good there. I'm so excited to have that in my collection. And of course, I have the Nintendo Switch. I've been playing that thing a ton. There are so many great games on there, and just really have been having a lot of fun with that. Now I do have some boxed NES games, not a ton. I'm not a complete in-box collector. I obviously only have 3, so I have WCW Wrestling as well as Monsters in My Pocket, the Blue Marlin. Just when I find a good deal, that's when I pick them up. And then of course I got my Pro Controller and then my Nintendo Switch games. Now I love games like Ultra Street Fighter, Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8, just a lot of those games that are very well known, but some lesser known titles. I enjoy Cave Story Plus. I really love the classic graphics they have as well as the music. And then a game that I got into a little bit later, this is Gunvolt Strikers Pack. That has been really fun to play. And then of course I got my Nintendo 64 games. Now again, this isn't a really nostalgic, it's not a nostalgic console for me. I just have a handful of games. Some of my favorite games were GoldenEye 007, as well as Zelda Ocarina of Time. I think I do have a Mario Kart in there. So just a lot of great titles, ones that are fun to play, but I just don't really spend a lot of time with this system. Maybe someday I'll focus on it a little bit more. And then something that I really hope to beef up in 2018 is my Super Nintendo collection. Now, I don't have a ton of them, but I do have some decent titles. I know some of my favorite ones are Donkey Kong Country, as well as F-Zero. I absolutely love Mega Man X. I love pretty much any Mega Man game. Those are really fun platformers. I also love Super Mario World, of course. And then one that I recently picked up was Super Metroid. I was really excited to add that one to my collection. And then Twitter, Instagram, all you guys were talking about Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Now, I really didn't have any experience with the Super Nintendo. I skipped it because I went from the NES to the N64. But I've been really enjoying the Zombies Ate My Neighbors. It's been a really fun game to kind of get to know. The soundtrack is really fun. Just the gameplay is very enjoyable as well. And then I also keep my controllers kind of hanging from the shelves. I found some hooks at a big box hardware store, and it was just a cheap way to display the controllers and again make it very accessible. I didn't want to have to fish through the cables, try to track down where the controllers were. That's kind of why I have everything hanging the way it is. It just gives it a nice look, and makes it very easy to play. So I just got a few plushies up top. I got a Pez set that I got recently for Christmas from some friends at church. And then this is my baby. This is kind of the bulk of my collection. This is my NES collection. So I have about 300 titles, somewhere around there. And this is the system that I absolutely love. One of my favorite things about this system is there are so many titles. There are so many titles that I haven't even heard of, and I find and I just really end up enjoying them. So it's been really fun to collect for. I've been doing it for quite a few years. Some of my favorite games on this system is Battletoads, Bucky O'Hare, enjoy DuckTales. Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of my favorite games on the systems. And then of course Zelda, that is a game that I grew up playing as well. The Ninja Turtle series has been really fun to play. And then of course Mega Man, you have to have Mega Man. I have Mega Man 2 through 6, and those are games that I just absolutely love playing as well. I don't really know what my end game is when it comes to collecting for this. Obviously I would love to have a complete set. I just don't know if it's really feasible. It is very expensive, and a lot of games are very tough to track down, especially where I live. But this is my baby. This is what I absolutely love collecting for. There you guys go. You've seen my game room. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. Also, make sure you share this video with all of your friends. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter. And that's all I have for you guys. I'll catch you guys later. See ya.